Hi, welcome to the S.J. Childs Show. I'm your host, S.J. Childs. Thank you so much for joining us on our first season. The S.J. Childs Show brings value to families through education, resources, and lots of laughs. You can also find our S.J. Childs books for children at our website, sjchilds.org. The S.J. Childs Show can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the S.J. Childs Show. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Nancy Willard, and Nancy's going to be speaking to us about cyberbullying, how we can engage our youth through positive, powerful empowerment. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to the S.J. Childs Show. I'm your host, S.J. Childs, and today we have a very, very special guest, Nancy Willard. Hi, Nancy. I'm so glad you've made it here today.
It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. Introduce yourself. Let us know about your projects you're working on.
Okay. I'm sort of one of those people who the term those who wander are not lost, except that sometimes it kind of looks like we have been for a long period of time, or maybe from time to time. So I worked as a special ed teacher of kids with emotional challenges, got really frustrated with the school system and the lack of power to make change, especially from the teacher perspective. And so I went to law school, because where else do you learn about power? After law school, I really strangely got into trademark, copyright, and computer law. And that's when computers were coming into schools. So I got back into schools focusing on education technology, and then the internet came in. Okay, so that kind of shows how old I am. And there was a need for somebody who understood youth risk behavior, legal issues, and technology in schools. So I started focusing on digital safety. And then in the year 2007, my book on cyberbullying was published. Now, realize I was kind of early in the process, because Facebook went public fall of 2006, and the book was written in 2006. And it was at that point in time, because I really focused on the research. What's the research say? And it was at that point in time that I realized that what the research was saying was, and what the guidance to schools for bullying was, make rules against bullying, supervise, tell students to report, investigate, and impose consequences. Okay, how's this going to work in the digital age? You're not making rules for the sites or apps. Adults aren't present. Kids aren't reporting.
Yeah.
You don't know how to investigate. And if you did investigate and figure out who's doing wrong and you punish them, you've got uncontrollable digital retaliation. It's not going to work. So it was at that point that I started to try to figure out, how do we help young people who are being treated badly, or who are treating others badly, or how do we help young people when we have shifted into an environment where they really need to have the independent skills to be able to help themselves. So I've shifted the last decade, really focusing on bullying prevention. And that's been a real challenge, because what schools are doing isn't working, but it's really hard to convince them that something else could work. And my entire approach, even though it wasn't really called that the entire time has been what is now called a trauma-informed approach. And the basis of that is that we need to help young people gain both resilience and the personal power to be able to manage themselves, especially in relationships with others. So it was kind of through that pathway um, that I really got to the point that what we've got to focus on is increasing the resilience of young people and helping them gain that personal power, because that's an issue. If somebody's treating you badly, you know, the kids who walk around school like this, I have power, I know what I'm doing, I'm in control, usually aren't treated badly. But the kids who walk around like this, who lack that power, they frequently are the ones who are treated badly. So, so right before the pandemic hit, I published a book. It's called Be Positively Powerful, a guide for teens on achieving resilience and empowerment. And
important.
I have 7 strategies that I included, and it's all grounded in positive psychology and trauma-informed practices, 7 strategies. And I'll have to show you the other book. And so then after the pandemic hit, I said, okay, well, I need something for younger kids that just focuses on those strategies and not all the issues of relationships at teens. And so I wrote this other book, Be Positively Powerful. I'm kind of stuck on this, Be Positively Powerful.
I love that.
Resilient when things get tough. And I also, amazingly, thanks to technology, created a Spanish version of this.
That's so good, Nancy.
Thank you.
That's so necessary, isn't it? I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the back cover, and it conveniently sets forth my 7 strategies. So if you like, we can talk about those 7 strategies that I think are really important.
Yes, okay. Let's do. Absolutely. Buckle in.
Okay. First strategy, make positive connections. This has a 2-part strategy. First of all, we need to make sure that every kid has a real positive connection with one or more trusted adults. And as they're growing older, especially, we need to make sure that there's a trusted adult outside of their parents. I mean, we hope that their parents are
absolutely.
But when they become teens, part of the process is breaking away from your parents. So we need to make sure that they've got some real solid trusted adults who we as parents also can trust, so that when they're coming into those problems with parents, which are to be expected, they've got somebody who they can talk to. And especially even this time, we're starting to be able to open up a little more, but it's just really important. The second aspect of make positive connections is good friends. Mm-hmm. And we need to help young people have good friendships. And kids usually form good friendships with others who are kind of at the same level of social ranking in school. You know, kids kind of go out, and those who share their interests. Yeah. And the best way to help them make friends is to help them explore their interests groups with other young people, because then they're going to meet other young people who have the same interests, and hopefully the friendship can come from there. Yeah. So second, reach out to be kind. And that is so incredibly important. There was a study that was done, and they took 2 groups of kids, because that's how you do studies to prove whether something works. And they had this group of kids reach out to be kind to other people. I think it was just 3 or 5 times a week. I suggest 5 times a day. Okay, you can do that. Okay. And they measured what's called peer acceptance, how accepted these kids were. And the kids who were just told, reach out to be kind. Their peer acceptance went way up. So if you've got a kid who's being treated badly, and you've got problems with this, with your child who's not, just focusing on the practice of reaching out to be kind 5 times a day and talk with them. Who did you reach out to be kind with? How did they respond? How did that make you feel? So powerful.
Yes.
Use my strengths. We've got to focus kids on what they are good at. What are your strengths? And I also really, really like the work of a group called VIA Character Institute, where they focus on 24 character strengths. And I actually, in my books, I include a survey so you can figure out, is my strength wisdom? Am I really good team leader? Am I really creative? Where are my strengths? So finding your strengths. What the VIA Institute on Character did is they have adults. There's a survey for teens and adults on their site. And if you find out what your most significant strengths are, because we all have different strengths, and use those strengths, intentionally use one of your strengths every day, it increases your happiness.
That's fantastic.
So, focus on the good, gratitude, really paying attention to the good things that are happening in your life. And you can, keeping a gratitude journal, writing thank you notes, it just absolutely can change how you're feeling about the world and bring good things to you. Really great research basis on that. Be mindful. The practice of knowing how to be calm. And this is both a practice that we need to be working on every day, focusing on a meditative state, and also for young people who have greater challenges with self-regulation, we need to help them figure out what to do to be mindful, to remain calm when they start to get triggered.
Yes.
And we need to talk with them at a time when they are calm. Hey, sometimes you just lose it. Let's figure out what are the things. Have to have couple strategies, because
strategies, exactly.
Strategies. What are the strategies you can use? What are the times that you start to feel anxious, and what strategies can you use? And you do this in collaboration with them. And we need more than one strategy, because the first thing you try might not work. But to get calm in those situations. So that's real important.
I love that.
Keep my personal power. Okay. Now, there are 2 components to this one also. I really love, there's a TED Talk by Amy Cuddy called Power Posing. And you can do this with kids, with children. You can do it with Elsa in the first Frozen. She's walking along all alone, and she's looking like this. And then all of a sudden, there's a point in the song where she says, I'm in control. I have
my power. Yeah.
I have my power. And I've done this with 3-year-olds. You practice. Feel small. Feel, just how does that make you feel? And now I want you to stand up and raise your hands and go, hi, world. How does that make you feel?
Yes.
And with the kids who have that lack of personal power, if they can stand up and what Amy Cuddy found is that if you do the standing up, if you hold yourself powerful, it makes you feel powerful. You can fake it to make it.
Yes.
Really helpful.
Definitely.
So the other component of keep my personal power is recognize that while we can't control what's happening to us, we absolutely had no control over this pandemic that we've been locked into for a year now. We can't control what's happened or is going to happen, but we can control how we respond and how we think about ourselves. So if somebody's treating you badly, you can think to yourself, hey, I can't control what that person's doing, but I am not going to give that person the power to control how I feel about myself. I am going to remain strong in myself. They can do what they want, do what you want. It's not going to affect me. It's keeping that personal power. Okay, last strategy. Think things through. Problem solving. And this is so essential that as adults, instead of solving problems for young people, we help young people solve problems for themselves. So if a child is having a challenge, it's like, okay, let's talk about the challenge. Make sure we understand what's going on. Okay, what do you want to happen? So it's understanding. And then what is your objective? What do you want to come out? Okay, what are some strategies? You always have to have three strategies, because the first one might not work. What are some strategies that you could use to solve this problem? Let's talk about them. Okay, each strategy, is that in accord with our values, your values, and predicted? What do you think might happen if you did that? Okay, next strategy, values, prediction. And okay, based on that, what do you think you might want to try first? And then what steps are you going to need to take to try the strategy? And then let's talk about it and see if the strategy worked. And if not, we'll learn something that we need to use to apply to the next strategy. So those are, the more I've
so
worked
important.
These really, to me, are, if we can get these as a foundation for every kid, we can help them recover from the trauma and the distress that they've experienced during the pandemic. We can especially help those kids who are being treated badly gain the resilience and the personal power, so that, yeah, somebody treated me badly, I'm off. I'm going to have fun with my friend.
Confidence is key, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's that, happened. Forget it. Here, I'm going to go have fun doing the things that I'm really good at with my friends, and focusing on what good is happening in my life, not what some other person. But also the kids who are treating others badly, if they start feeling this personal power within themselves and the reaching out to be kind and get the benefits, know how great it is to feel when they've reached out to be kind and somebody else is happy back. We can help shift them. And hopefully we can also help shift young people so that they are really willing to step in and help if they see something wrong happening. So
I agree with that. Yeah. Building advocacy. I agree with that. Build children up in their confidence, build up their knowledge, learn their learning style, like we were talking about before, and really set forth a great example, modeling behavior, teaching them these skills. They don't learn how to be kind on their own. It's not a natural skill that we just come up with. These are things we need to practice showing our kids every single day. Like you said, 5 times a day. Whenever I'm out, I like to think of myself as the person who thanks the thankless, the window washer, the garbage picker upper, whatever, thank you so much for your services. Because when do they get the chance to feel, like somebody is grateful for them? Right. And so important.
Here's a game you can play with a kid in a grocery store. It's the reach out to be kind. How many people in the grocery store can you reach out to be kind to, say something nice to? And I used to play that game with my kids. And we had this grocery store that had a grand new opening. They were in an old, and they had this grand new opening, and the media was there, and my kids were there, and they said, hey, can we interview your kids? So fine. So they set up to interview my kids. and they asked my daughter, what's your favorite thing about this store? So it's a big, huge news store. And she said, I really like the people who work here. They
Oh,
are so wonderful and so kind and friendly. And it was like, yeah, yeah, it wasn't the big, new, beautiful store. It's the people.
yeah.
And yeah, and because when we check out, we're always engaged, talking with them, finding out how they're doing, knowing what their name is and stuff like that. So this whole practice of just kindness, compassion, respect,
I love
if we
it.
can, yeah,
Relationship building, isn't it? It's the
relationship,
most important
yeah,
thing in our lives because
yeah,
we go throughout our lives doing it all our lives. We have to know how to come up against some of these things. Like your book says, we need to know how to problem solve. We
mhm,
need to know how to have conflict resolution. We need to know when to just be kind and just, let things roll off our back sometimes if it's something we disagree with. So I
right.
think that there's just so many amazing positive, what just like your book says, positive tips for, positively expressing your life and teaching your kids how to make this world a kinder, much better place. I think it's amazing. I'm so glad that you're here today to talk about all of this with me. We talked before a little bit, and we were talking about some funny stories and things that we had shared. So yeah, share me your story that we were talking about.
Okay, well,
And the
people are
donkey.
probably
We better do
wondering
that
why there's a
first.
donkey over my court. Okay, so I have 6 donkeys, and my life goal is to use my donkeys in an assisted therapy kind of approach, especially for young people who have experienced challenges, are neurodiverse. And so I also have another book called The Way of the Donkey, and this goes through all sorts of, it's a great, it's a history book. It's all sorts of fun pictures and kids with donkeys. Um, so the fun story is that a number of years ago, I was thinking about how to set up this therapy program, and I came up with this idea called the Way of the Donkey. And it's the things that donkeys do that we can learn from. And the fun thing is that donkeys make positive connections with friends.
Oh.
They are all bonded to other donkeys within their group. Donkeys will scratch each other's back. They reach out to be kind.
Oh.
Donkeys actually like learning new things. It's fun for them to do new things. So they like to use their strengths. And donkeys are very appreciative, especially for bringing carrots.
Yes.
So they focus on the good. And the cool thing about donkeys is they're not like horses. Horses evolved on the plains. So if they get stressed, they go into flight. And we don't want to go into flight. What donkeys evolved in the plains, in rocky terrain. Okay. So they can't go into flight. They would trip and fall. So what they do if things get tough is they stop. They
That's where
stand
the
tall.
the stubbornness kind of idea comes from,
Right.
I bet.
They stop.
Interesting.
They stand tall and they think things through and decide what to do.
Wow.
So actually, the funny story is that my Be Positively Powerful approach first emerged as the Way of the Donkey.
I love it. I love that. Yeah, that's amazing. And it was such a great transition. Not only do now I have all this great donkey knowledge that who knew that I would ever have before. That's fantastic. But now, I can see how, like you say, how we're all, we all have our own instinctual aspects to ourselves that we need to be really in. You know, what am I trying to say? We really need to be find knowledge about that. We need to try to understand those parts of ourselves, don't we? That's great. I absolutely love that. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to be with us today and share about these amazing books for teens, for younger kids. Please go check them out. We'll have all of the links in the descriptions down below. But Nancy, before we go, can you tell us where to find you and your website?
I have a couple of websites, but the best one for this is at Be Positively Powerful. I'm kind of consistent. BePositivelyPowerful.com.
Wonderful. And like I said, we'll make sure to have all of that information. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You brought so much value to our show, and I'm so excited to catch up with you in the future and see how things are going.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Bye-bye.
Kind of guy that keeps you warm at night when you are cold. I'll grab some blankets from my bed, wrap them around your chest, and I'll pull you close. We'll flip some channels to find out there's nothing on right now to ease your mind. Sit back, relax, there is no rush, no need to speed things up. All we have is time to think about the future, forget about the past. Time to figure out a way to make this moment last. To make this moment last. To make this moment